来い、デク。
Welcome back to another My Hero Academia final season breakdown, this time going over episode 11, the series finale titled My Hero Academia. Of course, we're going to be breaking down the episode, going over all of the hidden Easter eggs and references, as well as how this episode will lead into the OVA that will sort of act as the 12th episode to the season, and the true ending to the series. So be sure to Detroit smash that like button and subscribe to the Kitoroki channel so that you won't miss any My Hero Academia final season breakdowns. Now, in the episode, we see the kid in the basement whose name is Koki Teramoto explain his origin, revealing that growing up, all he ever heard about his quirk was that it was a freak variant unrelated to any other quirk in his family history, meaning that his quirk was pretty much a mutation similar to Eri and her rewind quirk, where the quirk she manifested wasn't anything related to any of the quirks from either her mother or father's side of the family. Out of the blue, Koki's entire family stopped being nice to him, eventually tying him up and locking him in the basement. Koki was scared and started crying and screaming, which made his family sew his mouth shut to keep his mouth from opening wide. The anime actually doesn't adapt the part where he doesn't know how many years went by, but one day his family told him the country was doomed and tossed a bunch of water and baked goods at him. After that, he never saw his family again, meaning that his family had left sometime after the events of the Paranormal Liberation War arc. Some more time passed, and with a big crash, something cut an opening in the basement. Just like that, Koki was finally free to go outside, meaning that thanks to the fight between Deku and Shigaraki, Koki was able to finally escape his house. Koki begins to wonder, why him? This whole time he had been scared and sad, and as he wanders, he sees some heroes and citizens all happy and helping each other. Seeing this angers Koki because why are all of these people smiling so much when he gets to be sad and scared? At around the same time, Hawks meets with All Might to explain his idea that will change the way the hero rankings work, broadening the scope of the rankings to not only include pro heroes but everyone else, in hopes of cultivating any number of great heroes. It's clear that even the greatest of all time heroes like All Might himself can only handle so much, and including everyone to strive for greatness means that anyone who isn't a professionally licensed hero can be a hero and earn a ranking for the good they do, activating his quirk called Darkness, giving him the ability to unleash these dark, venom-like tendrils from his fingertips. As this happens, the old lady that once ignored Tenko touches Koki, and he stares back at the old lady with his eyes full of pain and suffering and hatred, which startles the lady and is instantly reminded of Tenko and how she had abandoned Tenko during his time of need. She still wonders whether or not a hero helped Tenko after she had walked away, a thought that pops up every now and then that keeps her up at night till this very day, forever living with the regret of abandoning a suffering child on the street. Hawks explains that Izuku Midoriya demonstrated to society the need to support each other, teaching all of them that sitting back and doing nothing is no longer an option, a lesson Deku had taught All Might in the beginning of the series that made Deku become All Might's hero. Because of Deku's actions during the war, Hawks knows what Deku had done hit home with society and bets that someday soon heroes will have all the time in the world, thus making Hawks' dream in heroes having all the time in the world to enjoy themselves come true in the end. Deku and Ochako run to try and save the grandma from Koki, and we see the grandma had witnessed Deku's actions, and having been inspired by Deku, she reaches out her hand, grabbing Koki's hand and telling him, "You'll be just fine because Granny is here to help." Finally being there for a lost child, redeeming herself for not having been there for Tenko. Koki's quirk begins to deactivate as he begins to cry, saving Koki from becoming the next Shigaraki. My Hero Academia here has Koki heavily resemble and parallel Tenko before becoming Shigaraki. Both have having been abused by their families, both being left to wander the streets alone and being found by the same grandma during their most pivotal moments, having her be the deciding factor in whether or not they would go down the path of villainy, demonstrating that Koki could have easily became a villain just like Shigaraki if he had not been saved in this moment. Koki's introduction in the epilogue is also a huge callback to Shoto having said that All For One was born during a time of chaos and no symbol, making Koki a parallel to All For One as well, who during his time of chaos wandered the streets and ended those in his way. Seeing this makes Deku and Ochako laugh and smile, knowing that society is on the right track to where heroes will have all the time in the world to do what they want. Then we get the biggest time jump going 8 years into the future. Deku states people are not born equal, a callback to the beginning of the series. We each take shape differently, which leads us to care about others. It's because one's mind and body are unlike anyone else's that we're drawn to others in search for common ground. This was the truth about society I learned at age 17. Deku here, now 25 years old, writing in his hero notebook as a teacher at UA High School, who teaches history and hero history, a fitting subject for him to teach since One for All and All for One were deeply tied into the history of quirks and heroes. Kota, who had followed in Deku's footsteps, also attends UA's hero course, calling out to Deku, asking where they will be meeting up for their practical exercise. In the background, Koki is also seen attending UA, showing us that because he was saved, he went down the path of becoming a hero, something that would have happened if Tenko had been saved all those years ago. Deku lets them know that they will meet at the bus stop as their lesson will be at the USJ facility. Deku in narration says there's no denying that on that day I felt everyone's support, hopes, and prayers. Even now those voices encourage me. If sparing a thought for someone else is the first step toward hero-dom, then on that day everyone was a great hero. I was hardly cut out for the dream I held, but it came true for me anyways. And the tale that began when my body took action before I could even think comes to an end along with the ember of One for All. If that was the case, why am I still writing this? Because there are more pages yet to come, showing us that despite Deku becoming a great hero, no longer having One for All, his story will continue as he and everyone strives for a better tomorrow. As Deku says this, we see specific moments from Deku's last 2 years at UA, showing how everyone went on with their lives since the war. I will say that a lot of the extra information not said in the episode that I will be saying did come from the Ultra Age fan book. In the montage, we see Deku coming home to his mom, All Might and Recovery Girl taking care of Gran Torino, the class taking tests, Mirko having received new prosthetics where she would then go on to defeat All For One's remaining allies overseas with the help of local heroes, which would earn her the nickname Bunny the Weapon, bringing her into the global spotlight. Mount Lady and Kamui Woods stopping a helicopter from falling onto the Saikyo Jump building, a reference to the monthly shonen manga magazine published by Shueisha. Shoji attends a ceremony celebrating his achievements for what he had done for heteromorphs during the war. Mandalay adopts Eri as Kota welcomes her into the family. Aizawa and President Mike visit and pray over the graves of Midnight and Shirakumo, their two close friends, which we already know that My Hero Academia Vigilantes Season 2 is going to be showing us Aizawa's backstory and what truly happened to Shirakumo back then. Endeavor, still in a wheelchair, has Rei still supporting him, and we know, thanks to the Ultra Age fanbook, Endeavor does go on to eventually walk again with the support of a cane and even aids All Might's support efforts for those harmed by villain attacks, keeping true to his word of forever atoning for what he had done to his family. On top of that, at some point during those 8 years, Toya does end up succumbing to his wounds and dies. Along the way, Deku slowly loses the embers of One for All, as by the time him and the rest of the class graduate and become heroes, the embers of One for All go out, making him completely quirkless. Spinner's book about the League of Villains releases as Mr. Compress becomes one of the first people to read the book, as he was the only other League member to survive the war. Spinner's book, when released, does become quite controversial within the world, but some people considered the book to have crucial information to understand what led to the war. Bakugo goes through with rehabilitation for his arm, and his arm slowly begins to heal. Deku and Ochako are also seen spending some quality time together. We finally see all of the students on their graduation day. Ida is the one representing the class, giving the speech just like Mirio had done for his class. It's confirmed that Ida would go on to inherit Tensei's agency, where Ida would go on to live his dream of being a hero alongside his brother, the same dream we would see play out in the Your Next movie, as Tensei was eventually able to return to do hero work thanks to the help of support items, and would join the agency as a sidekick supporting his younger brother, which we do get to see a glimpse of Tensei using the support items on his legs in the episode. Deku is shown smiling at graduation, and we know that during his third year at UA, he would complete the process for his pro hero license, becoming a full-on pro hero, but he would go on to become a teacher at UA. Toru would also at some point get a costume that does go invisible along with her body to prevent accidents from happening when her quirk would glitch out. Shoto is seen in the crowd wearing a corsage along with all of the other students, the corsage representing new beginnings for them all, as they all go on to pursue being the men and women they want to be. Ida's speech comes to an end as Bakugo and Monoma explode out from behind Ida, ending their graduation on a big bang. Bakugo and Monoma having become a lot closer friends since the war. All Might and the other teachers clap for their students, happy to see them graduate and become who they want to be. And here the song Hero 2 plays in the background. After the montage, we head to middle school as we see the next generation deciding the paths they want to head towards when going into high school, which is a huge callback to the high school pics and career forms we see Deku and Bakugo's middle school class do in the beginning of the series. One student says they want to go to UA's hero course, another wants to go down the path of support items, aiming to one day get hired at Lightly Labs, the design agency where Hatsume works at. One wants to follow in the footsteps of Dr. Ryu Yoshida and become a physician who can cure the incurable, while another wants to join Gel Inc., a company that went down in history during the Cyber War 5 years back. Gel Inc. being a company ran by Labrava and Gentle, who are now officially married to each other. The student from earlier peeks over at Dai's sheet and sees that he also wants to head down that path of becoming a hero. Dai, of course, being the same little kid that looked at the All Might statue for courage when starting his first day of school right before the events of the Paranormal Liberation War. The kid tells Dai it's going to be hard for him given that his quirk isn't all that strong. Dai paralleling Deku here when being told that he had no chance of entering into UA's hero course. It's revealed that the villain emergence rate is on the downturn, which means they're cutting back on the number of pro heroes, and they are now looking at an era where only the super powerful can be heroes. After school, Dai walks and thinks about how everyone changed. While Dai is on his walk, we see a billboard featuring Astro from Horikoshi's previous manga, Barrage, as well as a ton of posters and ads featuring other pro heroes that were in the war, like Gang Orca and Wash. When they were little, every one of them was wild over All Might, Endeavor, Best Genius, Deku, Great Explosion, Murga, Dynamite, and Shoto. They all wanted to be just like them. Dai begins to understand that he is the only one that never really grew up from looking up to and wanting to be a hero. When Dai is feeling unsure of himself, he always finds his way back to the All Might statue. We see on the news Shoji receiving the Imamura Peace Prize for his efforts during the war and after his debut as a pro hero, finding peaceful solutions to conflicts that arise from discrimination. The news then switches over to hero team-ups as Ingenium, Froppy, Creati, and Gravity have been touring elementary schools nationwide nationwide. Recent times have seen a decline of the villain emergence rate as well as the role that heroes play in society broadening. Part of this expansion was spearheaded by Iravity herself and her plan to expand access to Quirk counseling, which has been the most essential initiative of all in this day and age. Ochako's initiative in Quirk counseling, having heroes visit schools interacting with children to not only make them happy, but to help them communicate any problems they might be having, either with their quirks or certain issues that may be happening at home. Making sure the heroes and those taking part in the initiative to spend at most a month or more with the children depending on the situation to really try and spot the problems and help the kids with whatever they are going through. The initiative, of course, being inspired by the life of Toga, with Ochako making sure that another kid doesn't have to go down that same path, where they feel rejected by society for who they are. After this, we see Eri walking home with a guitar, showing us that Eri had gone down the path of being a musician. Aizawa shows Deku the news, and we see that Bakugo was once again going to drop down in the hero rankings due to his bad attitude. We see a newspaper featuring Shoto on it called Daily Heroes, a reference to the Daily Bugle in the Marvel Universe. Shoto, on the other hand, is making strides as a hero, doing good day and night. Though he might be a little awkward, he still treats his fans equally with respect, and these days people are thinking of him as Endeavor's son less and less. Deku starts talking about Mirio skyrocketing to the top of the charts, surpassing Kamui Woods and Mount Lady, confirming that Lemillion is given the rank of #1 hero. Monoma and Mudman are matching Mirio's energy and rising up to the charts just as fast, where Mirio had made a statement joking about quaking in his boots. Aizawa gets serious and asks Deku if he misses being a hero. Deku tells Aizawa that 8 years ago, when him and Fua were chatting to the class, a thought occurred to him. He might be quirkless again, but he can make use of his experience to encourage others, which gave him the inspiration to become a teacher, and he thinks encouraging others this way is cool. Deku tries to laugh it off, saying how awesome he is now, and Aizawa tells Deku that he needs to be more stricter with his students. They have to be tough to keep them humble so they don't get too full of themselves. After this, we see Deku walking by a monument showcasing him and the others commemorating their efforts in the war, and even walks past a few ads and products that feature Tokoyami, Invisible Girl, and a new segment diving into Kirishima's origin story. On his walk, Deku talks about how ever since they all started working, their time off never seems to line up, making it hard to plan get-togethers. And Deku actually walks by Jiro and Kaminari's agencies, who happen to be next to each other. He does get a real kick out of seeing everyone's success, and when he gets to think about their time in high school, he tends to head to the All Might statue. Now, before anyone says something about Deku's friends not seeing him anymore because he's quirkless, let's clear up this terrible misconception that fans have had about the ending for the past year due to bad translations and bad actors in and outside the My Hero Academia community. Deku here isn't saying that his friends abandon him or they don't make time for him. It's far from it. It's honestly just life. All of them grew up and have their own things going on that makes it hard for everyone to all get together and hang out like the old days. While it may not be all of them, they do all get to see each other in small groups here and there thanks to hero team-up missions, the Quirk Counseling Initiative, and of course, if a few people do have clear schedules, they will make the effort to meet up. In real life, it's hard to get a group of 5 or more to hang out and do something together. Imagine a whole class of UA alumni that's made up of 20 or more different people. Deku notices a child about to trip and fall, and he quickly dives, catching the child from getting hurt. At the same time, Dai had also dived to save the same child, but fails and lands on the ground roughly. Dai becomes instantly starstruck, noticing and realizing that Izuku is the legendary hero Deku and actually exists, further confirming that Deku has achieved this grand legendary status of being the greatest hero within the world of My Hero Academia. Dai explains his current situation to Deku, telling him that others say the times are changing fast and in big ways, so someone like him can't keep up anymore, since he has a super weak quirk compared to his classmates, which is why he visited the All Might statue to ask All Might if he can be a hero like how they all did. Dai paralleling Deku, asking All Might the same exact question. Deku begins begins to smile, seeing himself in Dai, and starts over analyzing Dai and his quirk. Deku narrates that ever since his own dream came true, it's been his turn to plant dreams into others. And Deku tells Dai that he will be fine. After all, he made an effort to reach out with a helping hand, diving after the falling boy, telling Dai the words he once needed to hear himself: "You can be a hero." It's revealed that statues of citizens were also added around the All Might statue, doing the same pose, showing how heroes are no longer alone in this fight. Deku then tells Dai to do his best, inspiring Dai to follow his dreams of becoming a hero. Later on his way to UA, Deku narrates saying, "I'd be lying if I claimed I didn't miss it at all, but as long as I can still inspire and encourage others, then I'd say this is still the tale of how we became great heroes." Before the episode ends, All Might arrives, telling Deku he's late and that he has a surprise for him, and hands Deku a hero suitcase. All Might says that the data obtained from the battle between him and All For One 8 years ago opened up all sorts of exciting possibilities. Just like how quirks themselves grow and deepen, so too does technology. Deku mastered using multiple quirks at once, and he wants Deku out there giving them more data. Deku, shocked, knows what this is and knows how it must have costed a fortune to create, and tries to tell All Might that he can't accept this gift from him. The armored suit begins to form around Deku's arm as he looks at his hand, paralleling how he had looked at his hand when carrying the embers of One For All. All Might continues saying that Melissa's shield and Hatsume came together to create this, and the project was funded by all of those in Class A, led by Bakugo. All Might tells Deku to not hide it because he knows Deku's body still has a way of leaping into action, stating, "Take this to heart, kid, you've also earned this power fair and square." As Deku smiles with tears in his eyes, All Might giving Deku the armored suit, paralleling the day when All Might gave Deku One For All. All Might's car, Hercules, even makes a return in the episode. All of Class A stand around rooting for Deku as Bakugo extends his hand to Izuku so that they can all be heroes together. Aoyama even showing up here, letting us know that he had finally made amends with what he's done and can proudly stand side by side with the others as heroes. Aoyama even becoming Invisible Girl's sidekick. Shoto's new costume has a big T-shaped symbol on his chest that's lit up with blue flames to reference and honor Toya. Hawks sends out a request for heroes, springing all of Class A into action. Deku, as he runs and jumps into action, does a Superman change into his costume. Deku looks back and sees the ghost of Shigaraki smiling as Deku's actions and efforts have changed the world for the better and is once again living his dream of being a hero, showing us that Deku to this day has never forgotten about Tenko and the League of Villains. Deku narrates, ending the episode saying, "This is the tale of how we'll keep reaching out to help for all time." During the credits, we see a bunch of pictures of Class A doing stuff, which these pictures are confirmed to have been taken by Deku as he goes full Peter Parker and picks up the hobby of photography. We also learn during the credits that Mina is popular among young people and takes part in major dance events. Jiro and Kaminari have agencies next to each other, though we do know they aren't romantically involved. Ojiro plans to open a dojo and is good friends with Sato. Shinso is active in undercover investigations of organized crime. Tokoyami soars through the darkness at night with Dark Shadow, and him and Shinso work well together. Yaoyorozu is a thriving researcher putting her knowledge to use, being involved with numerous global projects. When Mineta went independent, he thought he would become popular, but that didn't really work out for him. Shoto, after going independent, immediately ranked 8th on the charts. Him attending the Cool Down Festival at Masagaki Elementary became an annual tradition for him. Masagaki being the same school that had the problematic children from the remedial course arc. The Five Weenies festival that was created in honor of Shoto. Bakugo is set on becoming the #1 hero and is well liked by older heroes who cheer him on. As for Deku, he still devotes himself to training the next generation of heroes. During his busy days, he takes part in class activities where UA students interact with younger kids. On top of all of that, he still continues to save people in need with a smile alongside his friends. The episode then ends, letting us know their story continues on, and to go beyond plus ultra. Now, this episode adapted about 1.5 chapters, then being the rest of chapter 429 and chapter 430, the final chapter of the series, as well as a panel from chapter 431, the bonus chapter from the manga. Now, this episode was fantastic and expanded upon a few scenes that fleshed out the ending a lot better than in the manga. It was still a bittersweet ending that saw Deku remain quirkless in the end, but left it open to where he still gets to live out his dream of being a hero with his new armored suit, sort of becoming the Iron Man of My Hero Academia. Now, despite this being the series finale, this actually isn't going to be the last episode tied to the season, as it's already been confirmed at the end of the episode that there will be an OVA that will act as the 12th and final episode of the season, continuing past the end of the anime, adapting the bonus final chapter titled More from volume 42 that focuses more on the characters away from all of the drama, which don't worry, whenever that does come out, I'll be sure to break it down. Let me know your thoughts on the final episode of My Hero Academia and the series as a whole. For me, this series means the world to me, and I'm super glad that I got to witness Deku and the others' journeys from the beginning to the end. Deku will forever be my hero, so much so that I even named my son after him. Deku inspired me to become better in life, and I hope the same had been done for anyone else watching. This series and heroes will always have a special place in my heart, and I can't wait to see what comes next for the franchise. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button, and if you are new to the Kitaroki channel, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on so that you don't miss any My Hero Academia content. With that said, I'll see you all in the next one.